Okay, very good morning, everyone. Hope you had a previous class good enough, and you're back to fresh to attend this class. Sashidhar, I saw your message from you. We can discuss this at the end of the session. Any other doubts you have on previous session? What we discussed? Anything related to the ID or any other thing related to C sharp? Okay, someone can say like what we are going to see today. Yesterday we saw about the ID in Visual Studio. So like what is the topic we are going to discuss. It's very simple topic what we are going to see today. Just to know the variables what we are going to use in C sharp. It's very high level, and it will be like very easy to understand. Any idea on what is variable? If there is a two-way interaction, then the session will be more interesting than one person talking. I don't want to take this session as your regular classroom session. So you throw some answers like storage locations. Okay. Unique name given by the user. Okay. To store data. Okay. Yeah, all the answers are correct. See, one thing in computer and in IT industry, store the data. Good. So, can you summary yesterday class like what is console? Okay, Hari. Um, okay. So what you will say like console is some place where you see some activities happening when you it's a common name. That's what I was about to say. Like one thing in IT, if you see in software and everything, they never give a different name. Like how you have something when you take up a food dish, right? Like each one will give their own name, and now someone says like zucchini pasta, so you don't know what is zucchini and you don't know what is pasta, then you can't guess the food. Like same way, like if there is a new virus emerging and suddenly they are naming it as a coronavirus or COVID-19 or Omicron, something like this all like new terminologies. You can't even relate like what is meant by Omicron, whether it is a virus or it is a movie name or what it is. Like unless and until you go through the news or you come across some informations, you don't even know what it is. But whereas good part about IT and software and all the programming languages and all this technology based things, everything will be related to your day to day life or some activity, or the general terminology somewhat it will be coined. See, they can say like a device was created, they could have called the device in a different name because there is already a device called as telephone, where you have wired connection to make a call, and they came out with a device which is a wireless one. They could have given a different name, right? Like how you have something like a tablet or something like that. But they gave a name as smartphone because you know what is meant by phone, and when it does some smart activities they will name it as a smartphone. So people, whenever they hear the name, they can relate, okay, that is something which is related to a phone, like that. Even who are not so much literate and who are not so much techie, still they can guess and they can say the name. Same way in IT, if you say like console is a common name where you can see something what is happening. Like say for example, when they say Xbox will have a console. Sometimes they will call the monitor also a console port. Okay, so similar thing when you create a project in Visual Studio, it there is something called as web application where the output you can see in a web browser, and like in any Firefox or a Google Chrome or something, Internet Explorer or Edge browser, you can see the output. If you create a Windows application, when you double click, it is going to open one screen. So it will be on the window of your screen. So they call it as a window application. Similar way, when you double click the code, it is going to do some activity at the background, but it is not going to give some information to you, or if that is giving some information, it will give in a black and white window. So that is nothing but the monitor console, which will be a command prompt. So those kind of application which is not going to be much more interactive or much more like user interface or a colorful thing, but it will do some activity. So that kind of applications are called as console application. Say for example, um, like you want to send a message to your friend, you go open a WhatsApp, you will type something and you will click on send, a message will be sent. So you are opening and you are doing a manual operation and you are sending. So that is having a user interface, user is interacting with that interface. So that is called as a UI. Whereas say for example, you have your bank statement, and every month the bank manager has to send the statement for thousands of their customers. So so each time a bank manager can't go and select all the customers, and he can't copy the statement and send. For that, there will be a software program which will be running in a server. What it will do, it won't have any UI. It will automatically go take the database, take the user details from the database, and also the account details from another database, and it will convert it to an email and it will send to the user automatically. So this kind of jobs, it will happen, but there is no user interface or there is nothing to show. So these kind of applications, we call it as a console application, where there won't be much interaction between a user or there is no colorful UI, but the operation will happen in the background. It a set of code or a set of job will be performed, and this kind of applications will be called as a console applications in Visual Studio. Is that answered your question, Hari? Okay, good. Um, so from there, again, back to the variables. So as many of you have told, like it is something you are giving a name or something. Like why we want to give a name? Why? We already have something, we know what is coding, I know how to do a program, then why I want to give names for everyone? So let's take this example. You all are born in some homes in different part of the world, and you are provided with each names, correct? Like you are called as Hari, Hindumadi, or Joshua, or Shashidhar, whatever the names, like you all are given some different names. And when you come to a college, still many of your friends knows your name, and your staffs knows your name, and they call by the name. But when it comes to like a larger level, like say a university, where they want to manipulate your marks and all those things, evaluation, everything happening, they can't remember all the names, and they want to manipulate something. So to easily identify someone, they are giving one number, a register number or roll number, just for easy identification. It doesn't means like roll number is the one who are. Okay, I can't say like by just by seeing now roll number like number 6, number 8, number 10, and I can't say like, okay, who is this guy, who what he is doing, like that all. So that roll number will be mapped to some other number, that number or a name. So one roll number will be mapped to a name, and that name only will say like what is the, whether it is a boy or a girl, or who they are, like what they do, like what is the strong part of them, what is the weakest part in them, like how they study, what is their score, and all those information. So for something to identify, we want to give the name, right? So similar way, to identify, we are using the variables in applications. Like you will be using many variables. Variables is nothing but it is changeable things, right? Like we are people, right? We used to change, like someday I will be happy, someday I will be sad, someday I will be like angry, and this all emotions, right? Same way, the variable will hold some value, and based on the behavior, like if I'm going to office, I will be dressed up in a formal coat suit and the blazers. When I go to a party, I will be dressed up with jeans and t-shirt. When I stay at home, I will be in shorts and I will be taking rest and all those things. So according to the place and based on the behavior and where it has to be, the same person is behaving in multiple way. Similar to that, when you are writing a coding, based on the value you are holding, based on the manipulation and what kind of activity it has to be done, for that a certain memory places will be allocated, and we are calling that as a variable, and we are assigning that value to those part. Like say for example, very general, if I want to add two numbers, I can just say 1 plus 2 equal to 3. Instead of that, I want to say one, that number value 1 can be called as like input 1, and 2 will be called as like input 2, and output will be like a result. So now my code will be like input 1, input 2, and output result equal to input 1 plus input 2, something like this. So this is just an alternative way to make our programming skills easy. So you are writing something. When I come and go through your code, I also should understand, because here, like we discussed about the modularity and all those things in previous classes. Whenever you write some code, it has to be understandable by anyone whoever opens and see the code. I can write some code, like I can name some variable with my own names. Like I can say like, okay, some names and all my favorite heroines and all my role model names, and I can make a program. But when someone comes and read the program, they can't even understand. You will be saying like, okay, addition of Elan plus Musk equal to result, like that you will say. I don't know what is Elan, I don't know what is Musk, like that. You might be thinking like that is input one and input two, like that. So whenever you name the variable, it should be an understandable one. Like it is not required like it should be a short name or a long name. Make it very neat and clear, understandable one. So whoever reads to the code, they should understand that. Any questions? Okay, C sharp variables. In that first one is int. Okay, int is nothing but a integer variable. This stores some integer, the whole numbers without decimal points, such as like 123 and minus 123. Is this line make sense? Can you understand what it means? Yes or no? Yes, yes. Okay. I always see like only some repeated people will respond in chat. What about the others? If you are not understanding, say me no. At least I will make you clear, or I will say in some other thing to make you understand. It's easy to say yes or no, right? See, if you are not going to speak up here, okay, this is a very general session and no one going to question you. Like if you say yes, okay, fine. If you say no, okay, fine. And if you're not ready to speak up yet, then how come you will speak up in some very big organizations and you will get a job? I don't know that. And what is making you to stop speaking here? You should start speaking. Okay, still very less response. Again, back to Visual Studio. And here we have a main program, and we call these variables as data types, like where a data is stored, and there will be multiple data types will be there in a programming language. And since we are targeting only on C sharp, we are going to see like what are the data types and what are the variables available in C sharp with some examples. Okay, so first one we talked about integer. Okay, and in what it says, like I can minimize this, I can extend this. So when I type as integer, it shows like something like red line, and the name integer does not exist in current context. So it's saying this kind of thing is not like the system can't understand what is this integer. It is scolding me like, okay, what you are typing, like that. So but I want to make some comments, right? Like I want to explain what I'm going to do. So for that, what I will do in front of this, I will add two slash, so it become green, which means like this is a comment line, just a information. Like whenever you pass on some message to your friends, you will put a name, right? You will say like a hi, something, and you will pass on, right? Okay, uh, WhatsApp something. So similar way, I'm saying the system, hey, don't read this. This is for humor intervention. Like whoever developer develops, let them understand this. This is command line. Don't execute any of these lines like that. I'm saying to the compiler. So here I'm going to say integer is one data type. So this data types all should follow some standards, which is designed for C sharp. So if you see, I can see this one, it is a keyword. Int is a keyword, so it has this kind of things, like keyword is code related. So I can just go here and click. So now integer is a keyword, and it is one data type. Okay, if I see here, I can click on this. I just press control, I'm navigating somewhere. If you see, I told you like C sharp will always provide you the Visual Studio, all these things will provide some library, and it will have all the informations like that. If you see, that library is called as system. This is system library, and in system library, if you see, this all these informations are there. So first one, let's see this part. Integer is a data type. Okay, what it says, like it's a 32-bit signed integer, and this belongs to system class, and I should give a name for this integer. So now what name I can give for this integer? If I'm going to do addition of two numbers, I can say like input 1. Okay, that's it. And I can give one more thing like int input 2. Okay, why I'm using this semicolon and all those things, like we should follow a set of rules. Like as I told, like when you write a letter to your college teacher or your school teacher, so you used to write right from and some details to and respected sir or madam and what is the subject. So that is a format you should follow. That is how you are taught, right? That is easy way to understand. Similarly, each programming language has some structure that has to be followed. If not, that compiler can't understand. So that we call it as a syntax. So as a syntax, we want to follow this end with semicolon, and there should be a data type followed by a variable name and all those things. So what does this green symbol makes? The variable input 1 is declared but never used. So it says like this is a variable and it is not used in the application anywhere. Yeah, we not it used. So what is this int is called? It is a data type. Okay, I'm going to say this variable is a data type. Okay, to make you understand, I'm going to say Sashi there. Okay, it's a variable. And who is Sashi there? Sashi there is a human being. So how I will represent here? It can be represented as say human being Sashi there. So similar to this way, I have declared a variable here. So int is a data type and the input one is the variable name. So this is a name and this is the type it which belongs to. So first one will be a data type, second one will be a variable. And there is something called as declaration. Okay, so you are declaring this input one is always an integer data type like that. So there is other one called as initialization. So whenever you declare a variable, you can just declare or you can assign some values to that. Say for example, here I am saying input 1 equal to 0, input 2 equal to 0. So like this I can assign some values. So what happened? Now the input 1 and input 2 are assigned with some values. Now let's try to code. What is the code? I need another one variable which will be an input variable, say like result, and it is a good habit to declare all the variables. So I'm saying result. So I want to do an addition. Okay, in addition, what I'm going to do, I'm again assigning some value, input 1 equal to 10, input 2 equal to 20, result equal to input 1 plus input 2. Okay, it says I did a mistake because the result spelling is typo. It shows me some suggestions. Okay, and it also says like change result to proper result, like that. So this is one advantage of C# Visual Studio IDE. Okay, now I can print the same thing, console dot write line result. And always this console application, it won't stay, right? So it's better to have a read line. Now I'm going to run this program and see. So what happened? 10 plus 20 equal to 30. It is printed here as 30, correct? So you can get a question like why I want to do all those nonsense things. Like I can just like that add by myself and I can go like that, you can say, right? But why we are doing all those things? Like we are assigning some value and they are manipulating some value and they are printing the value. Can't I read or add directly like that? Yes, you can do. See here, console.read line 20 plus 45. Whether this will work or not, just in console.write line, I am typing as 20 plus 45. How many say like it will work? How many says it doesn't work? Even I don't know whether it is going to work or not. I will say like it may work or may not. May work, may not. So how many of you say like it will work or how many of you say it doesn't work? Will work. Okay, Dilip. May work, Hari. See, even I am not clear. So you can also say, right? Maybe work or not. Okay, Stephen. You're following my still. Okay. At least you can respond. May work. Okay, only some 3, 4. Don't know. Yeah, Akash. Now we can check that. It works. Okay, Charan. So when I click on start, okay. So it is working. So when I type something inside a console.write line with the numbers, it is working. Then my question is like, then why you want to do all those nonsense? Like it, why you want to take something and you want to declare and you want to do the result? You can easily add and you can manipulate and go, right? So why we are doing all these steps? Like it is irritating, correct? How many agree with that? But why this coding, everything has this variables and all those informations in it? Everything is for a reason. Nothing comes without a reason, right? Why they want to spend some time and do. So even though addition of two numbers is very easy, like say there is a problem, like a Ola driver, okay, on the real world scenario. So like morning, he's starting a trip, traveling 40 kilometers, and he is doing an extra charge. Like there is something, right? I don't know that exact word. Like instead of a normal pricing, they will say like extra, they will charge, right? Read line. Okay. So for Hari's question, first Hari, like for everyone, you want to see like some methods. This all like not written by mine. It was written by the C sharp assemblies. So we want to see like what it can take as an input. So if you see, there are 8 out of 19 options, okay, to take as an input. One is int value, so I gave 20 plus 45. It can take long value and object value and string value, something like string value is nothing but when you type like this, okay, this is a string. Whenever you use like double quotes, we will see that what is a string. So this is a string value. If you use a string value, it will just print whatever you give inside. It won't do any manipulation inside console.writeLine. Okay, whatever you type, it will come just like output. When you put an integer value, then it will do a manipulation. Whereas you see read line, it doesn't takes anything as input. So it can just read a line from the console. So console.readline is nothing but just to read a line, and it doesn't takes any input. And when you give any input or when you type some numbers, which is not allowed, you are not supposed to do. If you, this is saying like don't ride a vehicle in one way or no entry. If you write, then it will say as error. It will say a error here because exception is thrown. Error is nothing but exception. Both are same. Just the word changes. Okay, the terminologies. So it says like IO exception, like input output exception. If you still can't see this red line and if you go ahead and run, then it will show like build itself will fail. We call it as compilation error. It will say build 0 succeeded, 1 failed. And if you say like what is the error, then there will be an output error option in the error list. It will say like no overload for this read. It doesn't takes any argument, so we can't do that. Okay, back to here. So if there is something like a Ola driver is riding for 40 kilometers and with an extra charge, and again you are creating an Ola app and one method, and is taking like 5 more trips in different time. Okay, and evening during peak hours, it takes 2 more trips. So what will be is what they call as bonus or something for the day. Okay, and he also got some extra tips. So they want to calculate this and they want to give to him. So in this Ola example, there are many things happen on a day. So you want to calculate for more than 1,000 drivers at the same time. Like say for night 12 o'clock, you want to calculate and you want to transfer the money to their bank account. For this kind of things, you can't calculate everything. Like you can't put all the values in one place and you can't show to someone, or you can't download in Excel, right? Instead of that, you can put in a paper pen and you can do. So for these things, what we will say like, okay, morning calculation, you will write a method and you will assign some value and you will do some manipulation. After that, that will be added to this 5 trips. Then that will be added to this peak hour trips. And based on that percentage, you will do some calculation and then you will pay. So when you do such kind of very big large operations, this variable plays a vital role, and this will help you to do the calculation in a easy way. So that's the reason they are saying like you have to use this variable in a wise manner. Okay, now we saw one variable, okay, which is of int data type. Now if I want to do some manipulations with decimal numbers, okay, so for that we have another one called as float. Okay, so what is difference between int and float? Let's see. Float, float. See, I'm just maintaining the same variable, but I changed the data type alone. And here I'm going to do, let's see how this prints. Will this work or not? Say soon. It works. So when I made a int, it gave the same answer. When I made a float, it is giving same answer. Then what is the difference? The difference is float has a tendency to handle some decimal points like fractions and all those things. When I say this is 10.5 input 1, what is the error? Cannot be implicitly convert to type float. Use an suffix to create a literal of this type. What is the problem? Like there is a float and it can't directly take. Any idea what it is happening? Why it can't take directly? So what it says, like literal of type double cannot be implicitly converted to a type float. Use an suffix f to create a literal of this type. So it is asking me to create a suffix f. So will this work? Okay. So did you understood what it was saying and what I did? Yes, no, or don't know? Okay. For some who not understood, what I did, like the main thing of using a float is it can handle some decimal values. Okay, decimal values in the sense like say what is 11 divided by 2? What is 11 divided by 2? It is 5.5, correct? Or it's 6.5? Okay, good. So it is 5.5. So for this kind of values, when I try to do this kind of manipulations using an integer, it will omit these values. It will make a round off value because integer will always look for the main value, not the decimal point value. So when you want exact calculations, you should go for float or double, which are a different data types. So I used a float data type. Okay, and the float can accept both whole numbers and also a decimal numbers. But when I tried to make a decimal number, it was throwing some error because there is another data type which will handle this kind of decimal values. Okay, so we will see that. So if you are explicitly using this float for handling this decimal values, then they are saying just use a suffix f. Suffix in the sense like add a capital F to the end of the value, so that system will understand, okay, this guy is a float value, I want to handle him like a float. Okay, if you are in ncc or nss, when you go and do some traffic activities or you're doing social service, they will give you a badge or they will give you a cap just to identify you are a human being. I know that, but if you have a cap or a badge, they will know like, okay, this guy belongs to some activity community, so I want to respect him, I want to obey his orders, right? Similar to that, on the base of syntax, I'm saying this compiler to understand, hey, see, this is f, so you should consider this guy as a decimal value. So when I put f, this is manipulated and calculated. Understood? So when you try to do some float operations or when you attend some interview, mostly that code will be there, like online coding exams. They used to declare instead of an integer, they used to declare as a float, and sometimes you will get an error. They will expect you to say like float should have a suffix of f. So this is a general interview questions whenever you do. So this is a basic one. Most of you are aware, but just when we start, we should do this, right? Okay. Now there is other one, double. Okay. So what this is? This stores floating point numbers with decimals such as 19.99 or minus 19.99. What I told the same. See, float is one type where to handle all those things we should have something called as double. Okay. If you want more information in Visual Studio, you can right click and you can go to implementation. Oh, what happened? Okay, sorry. You can control and you can click and you can go and see the library files. So it will have all the informations like how it will be, what will be the minimum value it can store, what will be the maximum value it can store, and what will be the negative infinity value. So all those things will be available here. So this is a class method which is there. And now let me see how this is handled. Okay. So what is the difference here? When I make it as a double, I don't want to specify any suffix here. It can directly handle all the decimal points. But when it is a float, you want to explicitly specify with F value. Then only it can give the proper value. So this is also a data type. Any questions so far? Okay. And one good thing about this, what to say, Visual Studio, I want to change all this three, right? So let's go and see what is next one. Next is a character. Okay. Char is a character data type which can store only a single character. Okay, surrounded by single quotes. So whenever there is a character to be stored, you should use single quotes. This is single quotes. And whenever you want to use a string is nothing but a collection of characters, right? Your name and everything is a string. You should use double quotes. Okay, keep this in mind. And now we can use a character one. So I can do like this. Whenever you write a program, you can type as char. Again, I'm changing this as char. Char. This is one way, but just click here, click on Alt button and drag here and change now. Double. So everything got changed here, right? So this is all some easy ways which is supported in IDE to assign some values or whatever modification you do. It will be very easy. Like if you have some set of codes, you want to change all the lines of code, you can do this easily. And what is this error? We are trying to do something converting. What you are doing, you are assigning some 0 to a character which is not allowed, so it is throwing an error. So what it should be, character should always have single quotes. So character is I, here character is M. Okay, what is result? I don't have anything, or I can say as empty character. And so now what I'm doing, I can comment these two lines because I already assigned the values here. And I'm going to add result equal to input 1 plus input 2. So why there is something here? Empty character literal. What this means? So when you are declaring something, it is not allowing you to do an empty for this value. Okay, so there should always be a character assigned to this. So now I'm just like that keeping a result correct. So since empty space was there, it was not allowing. And when I come here, this is also showing something. What it means, input 1 and input 2, an explicit conversion. Why? Because when there is some numbers which is handled like float or double, it was able to add. But when it comes for character, they can't add both the characters. Okay, so that's the reason they are saying like cannot implicitly convert the type and assign here like that. So now what I'm doing, I'm just assigning this input 1 to this result, and let's see what is happening. So whatever I assign, that character is printed here. If I change this to input 2, M is printed here. So just we can assign and we can do this. Next one is string. String is nothing but the collection of characters. Okay. So now when you see here, like these characters are used in some places wherever we want some assignment and all those things, right? Whereas string will be used in many places, and string has many internal functionalities. Let's see that. String input 1, hello, input 2, world, and result equal to input 1. What is this error? Like I don't know why. Too many characters in character literal. Any idea like why it is showing error? See, this is string data type. This is variable name string, but equal to hello. Okay, so it should be a double quotes, but I gave a single quotes where characters are allowed for single quotes. So now everything looks fine. This line, right? So character means single quotes, string means double quotes. Let's try to check. Hello world without a space. Okay. So why in character it doesn't allow me to add, whereas for a string it allowed me to add? What is the reason? See here, if I add again one more plus, and if I add some space here, it will still allow me. Hello world with the space. Okay. In character, if you see, always only one letter can be assigned. So when I say like this, we call when it comes to a string, we will say as concatenation. Concatenation is nothing but connecting two words. Okay. So when you add a plus in a string variable, it will do a concatenation. It will add both the string values and it will make a word and it will give to you. Whereas character, I made result also a character which can occupy only one character. When I try to add two characters, it doesn't works out there. So that's the reason it was showing me some error. Any questions? These are like very much basic thing, and I am even taking it very slow way so that you can get some comfortness and like mostly like 70 to 80% of you are so much aware of these things. Maybe for the 20% I'm taking it in a very simple way. Last one, like bool. What is mean by bool? Bool means boolean. Boolean is nothing but which can hold either a true or false. Okay, so here I can directly say as true or false because I have a support for this. So where this true or false will be working. Okay, I don't want to do any manipulation with this true or false. Rather, I can try something. Okay, if input 1 is equal to true. Okay, or I will say like something else. True. I will teach in future classes about this if and else and all those things just to see what it is. False. So now you say like input 1 is true. When it comes, it will check whether input 1 is true or false. It is true, so it will always print as true. Let's run this and see. True. If I say as input 2, whether input 2 is true or false, it is assigned as false. So this condition will fail and it will come for else condition. If not this one, then this one, right? So that is only if else. So when input 2 is not correct, it will come and print the other one. So let's see whether it is printing false or not. Okay. So to make this one in a funny way, what I can do, am I beautiful? True. Am I genius? False. So now, if this is a scenario, you're checking. So now which one will be printed? I have like, am I beautiful as true? Am I genius as false? So which one will be printed? It will print as beauty or genius. Beauty, correct. Some other guess or some other answers? Okay, beauty. So if I'm changing this one to true, now it will print both the statements because both the statements are true. Beauty and genius both are printed here because both are true. So for this kind of various activity, you will use these things. I want to add two things alone here. There is something called as const. Okay, which means it's a constant type, which is constant. So say one example for a constant. What is constant? The value doesn't change. It will remains always. Always means always. So do you know any one constant where the values remains always the same? Register number. Yeah, register number, it remains always same. But register number for Dilip will be 123, and for someone will be, it will be like 456, right? But I want one value which will be like universal. It won't change. 24 hours, correct. So if your clock is having maximum hours, it should be 24 hours, which won't change, universal. Okay, now usually they will say, right, like what is the value of pi? So they will say like it is 3.14. That is universal. It won't change anytime. If you say like what is the boiling point of water? 100 degree. So that won't change. What is the freezing point of water? 0 degree. It won't change. So when you say, like, in some scenarios, this is an extra I will use, like constant integer boiling point of water equal to 100. So if I'm doing some related science experiments and I want to write a code, I will use this constant. Okay. So same way for max related something, if I'm doing constant double pi value, that is 3.14. Okay, so for these kind of activities on the project, I will use this kind of constants. So why we have this constants? Even though I know, like, I can just make it as only int or only double, right? Why still I want to give as constant? Because variable is, as per the names, it will be keep changing. If you say a variable, right, it can be keep changing. Like some will be beautiful when it enters into some manipulation, it can be changed. Now some values you are saying, like salary of Ola driver is $100, but when it completes some manipulation, it may go up to $80 or it may go up to $150 based on some calculations. Whereas constant, it is constant, it should not be changed throughout the application. So those kind of values you want to say like const. So that one good thing is, like, whenever you say as const, it has to be declared. You can't keep changing the value. Okay. So when you say as const keyword, it has to be declared. Here I told, right, result, but I not declared or initialized any value, but still I was not thrown any error. Whereas when you say as const, if you say as boiling water, it will say it has to be declared but never used, but you should provide a value. If I remove this const, right, it will allow me, it become green, right? Because whenever there is a const, the value should not be left alone. There should be a proper value should be assigned. So what will happen when you start some programming code and doing something, suddenly by mistake, during some manipulation, someone who is not aware of what is pi or what is boiling point of water and temperature and all those things, by mistake any of the programmers should not assign some value wrongly, which will spoil the entire project, correct? Because these are some sensitive points. Like if you say like area of some land and area of something or circumference, you are calculating all those things. So in that, if somebody says changes this pi value, like you will use some math formulas like 2 pi r or pi r square and all those things. So when this kind of values get changed, then the entire calculation what you provide will go wrong. So to avoid those confusion, like C sharp itself is providing this kind of constant values. Okay, so to make easy for the user to understand, and they will be always aware, like we should not change this value. Still, for any reason, if you change this value, it will throw an error. Like if I'm changing again to 300, it will throw, because a constant value should be only declared, like it can't be changed multiple time. So that even though by mistake if you try to change or to assign some value or manipulate something, it will say like, hey, you are trying to touch something wrong, so you should not do. So you should start using constant whichever feels like the value should not be changed. So there is something called as read only. So this read only also, it's similar thing, but read only, the value can be set at either in the start or like later point of time also you can set the value. This is, there is nothing much difference between the performance or anything. Read only is used just to make the user to be aware, like read only values cannot be changed or it cannot be manipulated every time. To make that one, they're using this read only things, which we will see in later things. Any doubts so far, whatever we saw today? Sorry, I took some 4 minutes extra, but I was starting the class late. So are you clear about these things, like why we have this kind of concepts and all those things? And one thing, if you have noticed, If you see, all the keywords in C sharp starts with small letter. All these things are keywords only, right? What I told, like all the blue color one, it all will be starts with small letters. Even though if I say like constant should be like capital letter, it can't understand. It will throw some error. It should be a smaller one. See, it is suggesting me to convert to small, like whatever, if that is a bool or an integer or a float, all will be on the small. So this is to make easy readable codes, so you can understand easily. Whoever looks the code, it will make sense to them. Any questions so far? Okay, as I told, like constant, it has to be declared like on the compile time. Before starting your execution itself, it has to be declared and the value should be assigned. But read only, you can do it in two places, like either on the compile time or on the runtime you can do, but only one time you can assign a value to that, and again you should not change. But still there are scenarios where read-only variables can be modified, but read-only is more for user level. Like whoever sees, they will see like, okay, this is some value declared, we should not change it. So the developer should be more constant on that. Whereas when you say as constant, then it is on the compiler time. So system itself will take care of that. If you try to do some manipulation or try to change the constant value, then it will warn you, hey, you are doing something wrong, like that. It will inform you. Okay, so Microsoft 11, you're asking, right? Like Windows 11, correct? So you're asking like how it is done, or how, what is the code language they have used, like that. So Microsoft use mostly the C sharp for their all the development platforms. But internally, if you see like more complex things and all those things will be done using C only. And that is like more of graphic users, user interface, right? Like the GUI is more into that. So they will use other software supports also for like almost from Windows XP onwards, they started using like more GUI interfaces rather than the previous ones. So they are using more UI based softwares. And I don't know how many are aware of that. Like Silverlight is one of the best concept, and the Blend is other one, where it is all like given more importance and the glossy looks, whatever you see for all the UIs, right? So those kind of technologies are used. And I'm sorry, like I'm taking more time. Like I missed the very first question. Okay, can freshers can able to get a job in foreign? Okay, the answer is like yes and no. Because it doesn't means like a fresher can't get a job at all in foreign countries. The truth is yes, they can get a job, but being someone like, why I want to recruit you, like what there are many people who are available, and many people are available in foreign countries also who's looking for jobs. So why I want to come and recruit a fresher? So what you are doing, like first, I want to see your profile, or you should do some achievement so that people will come and see at you, or you should have some reference who can do. So here, like whoever does their colleges here in US, college itself will ask them to do an internship in any of the organizations for 3 months to 6 months. So they will get an exposure to the actual industry. So when they come for internship, the way they work here, so most of them will be impressed, and they start their first job in the same organization itself. So that is one good concept they have here. So that is how like many students, they will get a job here. If you are a student who have done your masters or undergraduations in India, and you are looking for a job in foreign nation, you should apply for some companies who is looking for a fresher, and they should impressed with your profile. Because like if you are standing something different from the others, then they may try to pull you here. So that is all in your hand to approach and showcase them, where you do some projects and post on LinkedIn, and many people started sharing and you become trending. Then everyone will look at you, like how, like when some hero dance in a movie, like how all the cricket stars are imitating his dance and it is getting trending, right? Similar to that, if you are doing a project or if you're doing something different and that you are posting in a proper forum like LinkedIn or somewhere, and people used to start looking at that. So suddenly one company, some hiring manager is looking and he is thinking, okay, this guy will be apt for my project and all those things. He can send an interview invite. Yes, if you ask web development, yeah, everything is web based, right? So you can't come out of that. Even though mobile development is so much peaking, but everything like has to be there on web applications and all those things. So development will be a good scope only if you read and if you do that. So this is a question from Dilip. Does web development has good scope? For that, answer is yes. First look for your interest, and you see like where what you can do and where you can survive. Like don't go for something which is trending so much. At one point of time you may regret. So you look for something which you are more interested and you try to improve the skill set in that place so that you can grow up easily. Okay, if no questions, let me close the session. Have a good day. Yeah, thanks Hari, Shashidhar, and everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye. Dear students, I posted the feedback link in this chat box. Kindly fill the feedback form